From its first appearance in George Lucas's A New Hope from 1977 to today's streaming Disney series The Mandalorian, the X-Wing is one of the most popular spacecrafts in the most popular sci-fi movie franchise. LEGO has been producing and selling models of the X-Wing since its inaugural year of 1999. This video will cover every LEGO Star Wars X-Wing, whether it be a T-70 from the sequel trilogy, or a T-65 from the original trilogy, or anything in between. At the end of the video, I will be revealing my personal favorite. For the sake of time, I won't be covering any of the micro-scaled builds from advent calendars or any X-Wing build with less than 50 LEGO pieces. This is the very first LEGO X-Wing that launched during the inaugural year for LEGO Star Wars and licensed LEGO themes in general. The set included 3 minifigures, an astromech, and a maintenance/people mover cart. The minifigures are Luke Skywalker, Biggs Darklighter, and a rebel tech with a large mustache. The astromech is none other than R2-D2. Skin tones in the Star Wars theme were yellow during the first several years before transitioning to more realistic skin tones. The X-Wing used old light gray elements as the main color. White would be used for the majority of X-Wings going forward. Make no mistake about it, this is Luke's Red 5 T-65 X-Wing from Episode 4, A New Hope. It has a simple build with a small amount of pieces used as compared to today's builds. Hinged plates are utilized to accomplish movement of the S-foils. Please give this video a like if you are enjoying it so far. No worries, I'll wait. The green brick standing by. In the year 2000, we saw the first iteration of the UCS X-Wing, which will be redone 2 more times, but much later. And again, this is the Red 5 from Episode 4, but just at a much larger scale. With 5 times the number of pieces than the minifigure scaled X-Wing, this is packed with much more detail and accuracy, but at 5 times the cost. Aside from R2-D2, no pilot or minifigures were included. To actuate the S-foils, the build provided a smooth functioning action feature. Clear-backed stickers were used on the clear canopy piece, which didn't look nice for a UCS caliber set. The next X-Wing we would get was a minifigure scaled one from Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This set included Yoda's hut as a side build. The X-Wing looked like it was just lifted out of a swamp, as it was in the movie. The minifigures include Dagobah training Luke, Yoda, and R2-D2. The build is more complex than 1999's minifigures scaled X-Wing, and is the first of this size with a Technic-built mechanism for transitioning the S-foils from flight to fight. A knob and some rubber bands were used to aid this function. The hinged brick and plate built nose were used to good effect to provide a nice transition in width from canopy to nose, and in fact, this building technique is reused for many other X-Wings going forward. Speaking of going forward, this is the next one that would be released. This set includes 6 minifigures from Episode 5. This X-Wing had a long shelf life, as there wouldn't be another minifigure scaled X-Wing until 2012. This is indeed another Red 5. However, pieces were provided to transition the markings to Wedge's Red 2.
Red 2, standing by.
The functioning mechanism for the S-foils and the build overall were very similar to 2004's. However, what is new here are the realistic skin tones of Luke Skywalker, Wedge Antilles, Hoth version of Princess Leia, Hoth version of Han Solo, and you also have Chewbacca and R2-D2 rounding up the minifigures. In 2010, we got an X-Wing in a polybag with 61 pieces. Enough said about that, let's move on. In 2012, we received our next minifig scaled X-Wing with 2 pilots and 2 astromechs. And yeah, don't pay attention to Darth Maul on the front of the box. A new mechanism for engaging the S-foils featured less turning and quicker transformation. However, plates and bricks would separate after very little use. The rubber bands caused more harm than good. If you didn't correct it by pushing all of them back together, you would eventually have a catastrophic failure. I know from experience. The build featured splashes of dark red, which weren't seen before, and something else to complain about was the wrong positioning of the astromech. However, the astromechs and their pilot companions were nothing to complain about, as they were a step up in quality and detail from previous years. You've got the R2 Luke duo, and Jack Porkins, and R5D8. And yes, a couple extra tiles and stickers were provided to transform the markings from Red 5 to Red 6. This little set was available in 2012 and featured a small-scaled X-Wing, a generic Rebel pilot, and Yavin 4, a little globe that could be opened up or hung up. 2013 would mark the year for the return of the UCS X-Wing. Again, no minifigure or pilot is included with this set, other than R2-D2. I think it would have been really cool to have a brick-built Luke Skywalker to sit down inside the cockpit, even if the brick-built figure was just in a static pose. Improvements over the first-gen UCS include more detailed engine thrusters, laser deflectors, targeting computer, and a T-bar design for the engine intake. This version was also equipped with a new mechanism for locking the S-foils. Drawbacks include stickers being used for the info plaque and also for that windscreen. Yes, clear-backed stickers on a clear windscreen piece. 2014 presented us the first lineup of microfighters. For $10 you got an X-Wing and a pilot. Though the Rebel pilot is an unnamed one, it's pretty well done, and the visor is now printed on the head, and the minifigure also has an alternate expression. As for the astromech, you only get the top dome portion, you don't have any body or legs, but hey, for $10 you can't expect much. Things get interesting in 2015, as this marks the first year for Resistance X-Wings. This is Poe Dameron's T-70 model from Episode 7. Aside from the striking colors used, one of the other main differences between the T-65 and T-70s are the shaping of the ion engine intakes. This set comes with 3 minifigures and a droid. Those minifigures are Poe Dameron, a Resistance pilot, a ground crew member, and the droid is BB-8. The X-Wing pilots are now sporting new helmets with the visor molded into it. The canopy piece is new shape, and will be used from this point going forward with all minifigure scaled X-Wings. Also, there's some stud shooters that represent proton torpedoes. And as for the laser cannons, we get 4 spring-loaded shooters. To actuate the S-foils, the feature is similar to that of the previous T-65 minifigure scaled X-Wing. Poe's X-Wing fighter would make a return 1 year later, but at a much smaller scale. Smaller, but still pretty cool. You can adjust the wings accordingly. A second microfighter X-Wing was on the scene in 2016. That sounded weird. This is a standard T-70 model from Episode 7. There's not a lot going on with the ship, but if you have this, you probably got it for the minifigure. It's a generic pilot, but look at the detailing, especially his helmet. That is just really cool. I also like the new dark orange suits. There were several color variants of the T-70 X-Wings in the sequel trilogy. This one was the first on the scene in Episode 7. This color is intended to represent a standard-issued T-70. The set included Poe Dameron, Lor San Tekka, First Order Flame Trooper, and BB-8. This one pretty much has an identical build as Dameron's orange and black X-Wing from 2015, aside from the colors, of course. Do not be fooled by the faces on the top right corner of the box. This is a T-65 from the original trilogy. Do you notice the gap when the S-foils are closed? No? Well, that's because there are no gaps. This iteration of the T-65 looks the most polished yet. In addition to dark red, there are splashes of cool yellow and sand blue. And I like the uniquely built up inlets of the engine thrusters. The S-foil transformation function is the smoothest yet. It's really smooth to open, and you can close it with the same lever or just set it down on the table. You could swap out the markings to have either Luke's Red 5 or Big's Red 3. There's Luke and Biggs right there, accompanied by their Astromechs R2-D2 and R2-Q2, and they're wearing their big boy helmets. This next one is intended for a younger audience. With a quick and easy build, it is a 4+ set that features Luke, R2, and a Stormtrooper. The pilot's helmet is back to that small one. The X-Wing has an open cockpit. Not a lot of detail, but at least it has the Red 5 markings, and there's also a side build for a Death Star turret. This set may not look familiar to too many, as it never hit shelves and was an employee gift only. This is the Christmas X-Wing. It was pretty much a recolor of the 2018 T-65. The minifigures included a Yuletide Squadron pilot, Yoda, and R2-D2. In the year 2020, we saw a new Poe Dameron's X-Wing. This one is based upon the one seen in Episode 9. And this is the minifigure scaled version. In fact, it's the most expensive minifigure scaled X-Wing to date. It's got a beautiful color scheme. New elements are available to have more circular engine inlets. Only 2 spring-loaded shooters were included. Basically, this is the T-70 version of the 2018 iteration of the original trilogy, T-65. It has the same action feature for the S-foil operation. Minifigures included were Poe Dameron, Yana, Vikral, he's a Knight of Ren, and R2-D2. With only 60 pieces and retailing for only $20, this is the 4+ version of the Resistance X-Wing. It features Poe, BB-8, and an X-Wing with not much detail, but it is a 4+ set, which means all prints and no stickers. 2021 was a good year for our wallets. It was welcoming to see a decrease in price from previous minifigure scaled X-Wings. This one's a little bit smaller and less detailed than recent ones, but it still looks pretty good. It features a very complex Technic build for the S-foil transformation, but in reality it's a very simple transformation. Some negatives are that R2 sits up too high, lacking detail in the engine inlets. I think this X-Wing is a good choice for kids that just want to put their hands on it and play with the thing. It's good playability. The minifigures include Luke, Leia, General Dodonna, and R2-D2. Here we are in 2023. This is a Rebel X-Wing fighter from Episode 6. It's a gift with purchase for 2023's Star Wars Day, or it can be purchased for $5 at Target or Walmart. This brings us to the 3rd iteration of Luke's Red 5 T-65 UCS X-Wing. It has the largest piece count and the highest price tag. How do we know it's Luke's X-Wing? Well, because it comes with Luke. For the first time in a UCS X-Wing set, a pilot is included. Of course, the pilot is not to scale, though. This version of the UCS includes a printed info plaque and canopy, where its predecessor in 2013 utilized stickers. There was also more attention to detail and scale in this version. Some negatives include absence of landing gear and inverted tiles to smooth things up on the underside. And now it's time for me to reveal my favorite X-Wing of all time, which is this one, minifigure scaled T-65 from 2008. So I think this one is best. There's not too many flaws. Really, the only thing I could have asked extra for was the inclusion of some hair pieces for Luke and Biggs. This set really has a good amount of detail, and what I like most about this is the transformation feature. And you don't feel like it's gonna fall apart on you when you do that. It's just really satisfying. Let me know in the comments which X-Wing is your favorite and why. Also, which version of the X-Wing do you think LEGO will produce next? The green brick standing by no more. See ya.